Rolster all tied up. There's a Gnar ban against Someday, of course. And the Varus ban remains from KT.
Yeah, 3 games in a row of Varus bans. Now, Kuro and the Rocks Tigers have played disciplined poke comps before, but the fact that it's risen to must-ban status is a surprise, especially with now one of Nidalee and Taliyah very likely to slip forward.
Yeah, I think the Tigers will have to ban the Jhin unless they really want to be in a position to be forced to first pick it here.
Nidalee banned out after that Aurelion Soul, so what's it going to be? Tigers looking for a first pick Taliyah? Probably ban the Jhin that route.
Well, they could ban the Jhin and then try and force the Taliyah first pick here.
Could ban Gangplank as well. They'll ban the Jhin though, so there's certainly going to be power left to KT on red side.
Yeah. So what's it going to be? They ban the Taliyah away. Okay.
So because Gragas and Rek'Sai are both still up, this does escalate the priority of the GP pick.
They're going to go with the Rek'Sai though.
It's a lot of respect to score, in particular, third takeaway of the Rek'Sai.
Are you a little bit worried to maybe give GP and Gragas over to KT with this though?
The answers to the GP are going to be interesting to track. I mean, the Echo is still going to be available, so could just be a third game of Echo.
Yeah, it definitely could be. And the other problem is that Someday didn't play any GP during the regular season. Busted it out for a couple of games in the playoffs, but if you're Smeb, I think you're feeling confident of being able to play Echo into the GP matchup. So unless they take both champions here, and looks like
Vlad available too.
Yeah, they're not going to do it. So Fly going back on the comfort pick of the Vladimir, his third most played champion over the course of the regular season, and banned out quite frequently in these playoffs.
Yeah, obviously not needing to grab that Gragas just yet. And what's going to be? Now, we haven't seen reworked Rise, or I should say like reworked Rise at this point. Haven't seen him since we started playing on 6.15.
Did see him in the EU LCS playoffs.
Right,
so
not in Korea yet.
We've heard a lot of interesting talk about potential counterpicks to the top lane Gangplank though.
Maybe.
Speaking to Cloud Templar before the series, he was mentioning that people have been preparing a champion like Quinn for the lane dominance. Now, harder to pull that off on blue side unless KT really give away their complete comp, but there is the outside chance that Smeb has something special to deal with the Gangplank.
Yeah, Malzahar also a pretty common lane counter pick to the Vladimir. Does keep him pushed in the early game and allow you some more pressure to roam. And that was one of the other elusive picks. Malzahar and Tom Kench kind of the picks that Taric as well, the 3 picks I would say that we've seen sort of slip through the cracks. At this juncture. It will not be a Rise.
Well, Ashanti's Taric has been absolutely amazing this season, and I'd be pretty shocked if we didn't see it at least once in the series.
I mean, Rocks have played it a lot, not a lot, but to a great degree as well, and compositionally Taric is a really nice answer to the Vladimir, because you have that invulnerability that comes in about the same time that the Hemoplague will damage will apply, but having both of them makes KT's teamfights with so much AoE damage for Vlad and the Gangplank here. Teamfighting is already looking like a bridge too far, even though we don't even know the AD carry selection for KT Rolster.
No, but they can definitely go for a pick composition, always with a combination of Rek'Sai, Malzahar, and Alistar that will be available to them. I think we're probably going to see an Ashe here. I hope we see an Ashe from Bray.
But is this the time for lane pressure? Do you take the Quinn and just try and avoid team fights and just push them to oblivion? Because that is possible. They still need a top laner and an AD carry. They can pivot their image of this comp many different ways. And
I don't know about the Trundle. I mean, who are you really going to ult here?
That's the big problem. Now, Score does tend to build tanky on the Elise, as we've seen multiple times throughout the split. And, you know, Smeb has been the most, he's played more Rumble than anybody else this season. It has been a pick that he's used into some of these melee top laners.
I mean, he's definitely played the most Rumble, but there hasn't really been a convincing Rumble player. His win rate on Rumble is much lower than on any other champion, and they're opting into team fights with Rumble Sivir against what is this amazingly strong team fight comp from KT.
Yeah, Rocks again looks like they're going to be opting into a mid-game team fighting composition like they were in the last one, but this time with far, far, far fewer global abilities in order to enact that. Adjust the Rek'Sai Void Rush in this comp, and the Ezreal may be coming through.
Suppose you can just stick with it. I mean, why swap at this point?
How many losing lanes would you like, guys?
Yeah, quite
How about
a few.
all of them?
Yeah, that's the real danger here, but Tarek not strong in the early parts of the laning phase in pretty much any matchup, and they're doubling down on that, certainly with the Ezreal. So Rox can snowball just out of lanes if this Ezreal is locked in.
I mean, Rox, honestly, I think they're behooved by win lane, win game. Early, before the items come in, sure, you can team fight 2 items on the Rumble, etc. But eventually, you get outscaled by KT. Now, it's the 3rd Ezreal game in a row. I think Peanut kind of has to have open hunting season, killing pirates and vampires as much as possible. It's going to be a B movie here if Rox Tigers are going to win.
You know, killing pirates and vampires and explorers, I guess, archaeologists.
And fabulous people, I guess.
He hates archaeologists. That's shit, fabulous people. And spiders. There you go. Wow.
Honestly, it needs to be a hunting season for Peanut early. They have lanes that can win. The pressure is there for them. It's just 30 minutes. This game isn't any way even. KT hit height.
Yeah, and this also is going to really test, I think, Score's pathing in this game. We saw some of those games in the last best of 5 in the semifinal where SKT was dialing up the pressure very early on, and it was Score's ganks and Score's pathing that allowed them to get the kills to survive into the late game. So that's what we're going to see from KT this time. Very few globals, shockingly, in this meta from either team going into game number 3.
Yeah, and it's a crucial game, too. Whoever wins this one puts himself 1 game away from becoming the summer champions. Certainly
an interesting composition, and very rarely do you see teams that get 3 winning lanes when you're on blue side. I mean, that you rarely see that, period, but especially on blue side.
I mean, the scaling and synergy, though, eventually for KT is outrageous. That's why they've gone this way. We've seen teams like H2K try it. Works in other scenes, hasn't consistently worked in Korea.
Well, Tarek is truly outrageous. That's exactly what KT's looking for. Game number 3, let's see who takes it. Welcome once again to Summoner's Rift for the 3rd time tonight. Rox Tigers versus KT Rolster. We are all tied up on the LCK Summer Grand Finals here on OGN. Oh, look at that camera work. Man, seeing Summoner's Rift like never before.
No 3D yet, or VR.
Not yet.
We're working on that one.
Well, we're not working on that one, but somebody is maybe.
Hey, didn't we have a VR at our last finals where you could?
That's
right. They had a VR camera where you could sit in the stands and watch as if you were watching from the audience. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, but that wasn't in Summoner's Rift though.
No.
Yeah.
Still work to be done.
We'll get somebody to work on that. I gotta say that Pool Party Tarek cosplay was pretty spot on.
Yeah, he even had the abs for it. Impressive.
Yeah. That Kim Dong-jun, quite the commentator and cosplayer.
Now, we actually saw this particular matchup, Gangplank versus Rumble, in Sunday's most impressive Gangplank game. That was when he got killed a few times in laning phase, then KT really set him up to get a massive CS advantage. He died 3 times in laning phase, then Flame Horizon in 25 minutes. It was a really interesting strategic game from KT, but I don't think the Rox Tigers will give you that much rope if they get 3 kills on your Gangplank. They won't allow you to rotate around a really bad laning matchup for Gangplank.
Yeah. My other concern here from KT is their ability to actually engage team fights in the late game. They basically don't have any engage on this composition outside of Hachani Flash Dazzling or
you forgot
Cocoons.
About Ghost Flash Proto Belt Vladimir.
All right.
Oh, yeah, that's true. There you go. And, you know, to be fair, Proto Belt Tarek, too. It's been done.
It has been
by
done.
Hachani.
It has been done by Hachani. It has been done by Hachani.
That's right.
But if you
got the engage.
If you compare that to the Sivir ult and the equalizer, the number of tools that Rox has to both engage and disengage, it does make it easier for them in the late game. So KT really going to have priority on objectives. They need to be able to get to the Drake and the Baron first because they're not going to have very much to work with outside of a little bit of poke from Ezreal and GP if Rox are already starting those objectives.
Yeah.
I feel like Rox will also be behooved by somehow finding a way to bluff the Cosmic Radiance, the Taric ultimate, because if you can get that used before you truly fight, before you truly engage, then maybe you can win that fight in the late game, but so far Hachani has been outstanding on the Tark. In Game 5 against SK Telecom, 1-0-20 on Tarek. The ultimate champion to go in and die for his team. So, you know, if you can bluff the time, if you get to waste Cosmic Radiance, maybe there's a 5v5 in the late game. But otherwise, the AoE wombo from KT is just impressive.
Yeah. So far, though, a pretty passive start, and I think KT is pretty happy with that. They don't really want to have any action early on. So, at what point does the aggression window for the Rocks Tigers kind of start to close here?
Honestly, it's a couple of items in, though. I think it's 2 items on the Ezreal is always the place, but there's a really, really big advantage in the lane phase for Rocks Tigers. So KT not dying and trading farm is a big win for them. That's why we talked about Peanut. Peanut needs to be the one to seize this game because he's going to get pushing lanes. He's going to get many options to both invade and contest the enemy jungle and make ganks. And if he passes them up, then he can't be surprised if they get outscaled.
That's right.
And KT wants to have jungle pressure too. They have to be very careful.
Peanut spotted out here.
Yeah, has been seen. Score is waiting. Not going to be seen by Peanut on that Tremor Sense. Stop moving.
Peanut thinking better of it. Probably for the best. Score was there to respond.
Yeah, was a ward in the Krug, so Score gets sussed out eventually.
Oh yeah. And Fly coming up, trying to make sure that he takes his own Raptors. So Peanut's excursion into the enemy jungle not super successful.
Got information about Score, and when all your lanes are pushed up and therefore vulnerable, having information about where the Elise is, of course, one of the premier ganking junglers in the early game, does have its own value.
I mean, just compare this to the previous game where Rocks Tigers had globals galore. Neither team really has it save the Gangplank ultimate, so you can look for that coordinated turret dive. There's no teleport mid from KT. There's only the Gangplank ult really to dissuade. So once again, jungler's paradise to make those aggressive moves. Just have to see if they actually come through.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think that would be Peanut probably doing that a little bit quicker than Score, but you know, maybe showing a little bit of timidity too in game number 2, and we'll see if that continues here on to game 3.
I mean, Score has been the best jungler in Korea in summer, but Peanut has been very impressive too. It's just Peanut was so good in spring season. He was by far the best jungler, and then he choked in the final. He got out-jungled by Blank to a huge degree. Now we're seeing him once again come in good form, and will he actually have the killer instinct he's always had in the regular season in a game like this where, honestly, it's his game to win?
Look at what's coming in from Someday, too. He's already down by about 20 CS, and he's opted for just a lot of flat health, flat mana, and attack damage to try and survive this lane. So Smeb pretty convincingly beating him, and here we go!
All right, Score gets caught in the jungle. Exhaust comes down. GPL dropped to try to help him out. Peanut and Gorilla have to run. Hachani there looking for the dazzle, lands it on the Gorilla, but Prey doing damage to Arrow on the bottom of this fight. So at the end of the day, no first blood taken by either team. And some quick thinking, some moves from Prey to keep his team healthy.
But now there's an opportunity to gank the top side. Smeb still has the equalizer up. GP did actually have to drop the cannon barrage. Smeb coming back into a lane with a very aggressive build of an early needlessly large rod. So Peanut's going to have some opportunities. Isn't level 6 yet, so can't get back on the map quite so quickly with the Void Rush.
He's got to be getting pretty close. Let's see.
Smart pathing from Score here. You can see he completely understands the scenario on top. That's why he's walking towards his golems and then going to try and relieve pressure from top lane. Key for Rocks is even if you get that kill, you need to then take the objective. You need to use the pressure. I mean, Rumble was originally considered as basically the free dragon button because how can you fight against the equalizer early? So getting the kills is not enough given we know how strong the scaling will be from Gangplank.
Peanut coming into the top lane through the lane rush. Someday, though, backing off, playing it pretty safe at this point.
He has his flash.
Yeah, that's right. Smeb's circling behind. There's the equalizer, just his own. Peanut comes in. Someday with nowhere to go, but away from his base. Oh, the turret shot gives Someday first blood. He may have to pay for it 1-1. Here comes Score. Score can't get there in time, so they will trade, but crucially, that first blood goes to Someday.
Yeah, the equalizer, they thought they had enough damage even if they just zoned him off with the equalizer, but the fact that it didn't hit him at all, get any kind of damage down, was a huge issue.
And you know, they had enough damage if not for that extra Ruby Crystal that forced the extra turret shots to hit over, so really smart from Someday to add that extra variable, and the Smith didn't respect. And it gets them a trade. And whenever Gangplank trades 1-for-1 in lane, that's a win. Well, this blue buff steal.
Oh, that was close. Really close.
A 1-for-1's always a good trade for Gangplank, but a 1-for-1 when they send 2 members top is massive for KT Rolster.
And you get first blood too. That's not too bad. It kind of helps them catch up in CS without actually getting that CS.
Yeah, they're still taking a lot of chip damage on their turrets though, so Rox, in spite of Mix playing that a little bit, is still with, they've got a lot of momentum coming in here. Smab still has that sizable CS advantage to help balance things out.
But the first blood gets Someday a Spectre's Cal, and he's still on the same pace for the Trinity Pulse. Maybe 300-400 gold away from where he would be usually, but the extra gold brings him back kind of from the gasp.
I don't know, he's still gonna have a pretty late Trinity Force here just because of the amount of CS he's down, so we'll see when he actually manages to pick it up. But for now, the laning phase has been stabilized. KT sitting at a 200 gold deficit. If they can maintain this into the 25-30 minute territory, they are going to be feeling quite good.
Yeah, again, Rox Tigers does not want stabilized. They want to get the ball rolling a little bit more than this.
Well, they're still on track to get first turret, right? Bottom
Sure.
lane is going quite well for them. They've been able to chunk down that turret to about 50%. And it looks like Rumble's going to come down for a gank here on the Fly.
Yeah, maybe. Fly has both summoners up, so it might be kind of hard to lock him down. He's also Vladimir.
I mean, he can instantly die if he gets hit by the ult from Guro.
Possible. Wow, Speed getting hit, maybe instantly dying. Peanut caught up by some CC, but here comes Gorilla to try to save his jungler. He can for the moment. Fly coming in though, gets low, gets exhausted, backs away. Score with the execute though onto Peanut, and the fight continues. Score flashing into the Raptor pit, trying to live. He's going to get pursued by 3 members of the Rox Tigers. Looks like they might be able to get him. Oh, Spiderlings being the heroes there.
How is Sachani always there with the perfect Taric ultimate? That's my big question. Score still on the run, is going to take a turret hit and decide it's all over.
Wow. So KT giving nothing back to the Rox Tigers.
But man, what a save there from the roam from Machani. Again, we saw it in the Game 5 versus SK Telecom. Perfect Taric ults really did win them the day in the early game. And he's there once again to help save his teammates.
Some really fortuitous timing for Fly as well, as Arrow gets a nice bit of damage onto Prey. But he was actually just had his Q passive, the Crimson Rush up, so got a big heal. Didn't die at the start of the fight as the Vladimir. Didn't die by the end of it either, so they didn't end up trading evenly, and it's good stuff for KT Rolster.
Yeah. Close call, but KT coming out a little bit on top of that one. Let's watch that fight again.
So basically there's 2 fights happening at the same time as Crow just walks up. They think they're going to take down Fly, but because he actually has the bar on the passive, by the time he gets the Q up, he gets a big heal, doesn't die. Score managed to clip over the first member. But again, the timing from Machani was the big story, and even though Rox were in first position, it didn't matter in the end.
Yeah.
Also, the setup from Rox there, they wanted just to burst the Vlad down, but because they caught Peanut, they didn't communicate properly where their target was. Really, Kuro should have dropped down to Peanut right there.
Johnny comes in for the dazzle onto Peanut. Peanut has to try to escape, gets locked up in the tri-brush though, and Smeb can't save him, or maybe, tried. He tried, but Someday there with the parlay, but the negotiation was short, rather. Smeb gets dazzled.
I mean, in an interview, Score talked about watching video of the enemy jungler and watching their pathing, and both Score and Hachani have been in the right position before Rox have been able to make their aggressive moves, and Rox's telegraphed engages in Game 2 around Fly were what really cost them, and they've been read like a book in Game 3 as well.
Yeah. Trying to defend their top turret now, and looks like they will for the moment anyway. Starting to pull ahead though in this game.
Can't be overstated how important it is that so far KT have been up.
All right, here we go. Disruption on the Fly. He gets suppressed and finally taken down. Gets a Emo Plague off, but it's not going to mean much. Rox Tigers have to back away from the turret, though, after Someday drops the Cannon Barrage. So finally a gank, working out for the Rox Tigers.
Only the pathing of Score and Hachani have minimized the disadvantage. Remember, Rox is actually behind in kill score despite having 3 winning lanes, and it's the pathing that has allowed KT to get away with this greedy draft, and they still got a gold lead with the massive scaling advantage.
That turret getting low, though.
Yeah, side turrets are very low for KT right now.
Yep.
So there still could be a gold swing in favor of the Rocks Tigers if they can work them down just a little bit more. They still have a pretty big wave clear advantage.
Yeah, the first brick becoming a part of another great dazzle on the prey. This time Achani, though, the one that gets locked up, and he takes a lot of damage. Doesn't use that ultimate. Decides to save it for the moment, but they are doing everything they can to save these turrets. Again, they don't want to give Rocks Tigers all that gold.
And you'll notice what Smeb is doing right now. He's falling back to the Krugs because we see Peanut up here on the top side of the map, and what Rocks wants to do is get this turret down as fast as possible. They don't want the possibility of a counter gank coming through.
That's right. They are ready. Teleport in if they need to.
I mean, every extra wave that KT clears that doesn't take down the turret is more time and gold. They're guaranteed as they continue to scale. So they're happy to send multiple members rotating through top just to stop an inevitable charge. They will be first brick gold to Rocks, barring some catastrophe from the Rocks Tigers, but this extra time is really big for KT.
Yes, Smeb falling back, wants to TP.
They might go in. Looks like first turret will go down. Not quite. Peanut coming in to try to secure it, but first the kill on the score. Kuro comes in with the Malzahar ultimate. Score gets out of it for the moment, but Smeb flashes in, drops the equalizer. They're going to use the exhaust too. Gorilla gets that kill. That turret, though, going to Rocks Tigers. That's the true prize in that move.
Well, if KT can actually answer with a turret here, doesn't look like they're going to be able to, given the amount of HP on the bottom side, and especially because Rek'Sai already zipping over to try and clear out that wave with a Tiamat and a Bami Cinder. So Peanut will be able to save this one. Rocks Tigers make an aggressive move, and it gets them a little bit, but it's not enough yet.
They definitely need a little bit more. They need more kills, they need more gold.
And that number is so nebulous, Monty, when you're talking about Vladimir Gangplank and also the safety of Ezreal. They can dive in as a 4-man, and what the Ezreal pick that KT have consistently been opting for, it's an AD carry that needs no peel, that will still put out damage from a respectable distance away. So the par amount of gold that Rocks need to be up, we're talking 10, 15,000 to feel good at 30 minutes, and also something like Baron control, and perhaps a easy route into the enemy base towards an inhibitor.
That sounds like a tall order.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we were a little bit curious about the draft here from Rocks.
I mean, they could have gone anywhere with the last two picks, and they went Rumble Sivir, which is let's go team fight into what at that time was the Vladimir, Gangplank, and Ezreal locked in. So they opted into this, and that's why they need to hit their timing, so they've only got themselves to blame.
Yeah, it's a bit awkward. They do have CS leads in all their lanes, but not enough to really make a big difference. That Cloud Drake. Really nice. Peanut not able to get the Rift Sculler.
No Drake's taken yet at 16 minutes. Rocks should really have been, honestly, taking all of them. Remember, when you have all your lanes pushing, soloing down the Drake is Rek'Sai. Sure, it takes a while, but it's very, very possible. But because they've been focusing on the first brick, they've never actually been able to take that first Drake. That would have been unanswered by KT.
Sucker's pushing up the bot lane yet again. Score coming down, though, on that Elise. Prey and Gorilla need to be very careful here. And they will back up.
Yeah, Peanut just, or Score rather, just showing right there, so the pressure will stop at least for a second. Wait out another minion wave. It is going to cost him a little bit of damage onto the mid turret, but not a whole lot.
Oh, Cocoon misses Peanut. That could have been really big. He was kind of deep without a whole lot of support in that enemy jungle.
It is a jungler battle right now. Basically, Rocks are trying to force them away from the turret by threatening to come through from behind on the tri-brush, and KT are trying to force them back off the tower by coming through the river and into the lane.
Peanut kind of on his own here. This game really seems like it's kind of balanced on a knife edge at the moment. I mean, if KT can win a big team fight, they're going to blow this thing wide open.
I just think Rocks understand that they're on that clock. They know, just like we do, that they need to make the move. That's why they're always pushing. They're going to get a second turret. Second unanswered turret's worth noting from KT.
But KT does the right thing. They bought themselves about a minute right there. Just let the turret fall. It's not worth it. 2,000 gold is something you can come back from with this composition. Don't sweat it. Just fight them for every objective, but do not actually die. That is the main thing.
Well, Peanut just taking that Ocean Drake now. And Rox Tigers will at least be able to move around the map a little bit faster with this.
I mean, you can kind of think of it this way. You know, we talked about, okay, they bought themselves a minion wave. It was probably about 4 or 5 that we visibly watched and tracked the KT were bringing multiple members to stop going down. If those 4 or 5 minion waves hadn't been bought, it would have been a much earlier first Drake. It would have been more Drake. So you have to think about the advantages the Rox Tigers weren't able to get because they were always going to win the turret race war. It just, did KT buy themselves enough time is a question we can't answer right now. Sure. But so far it's looking pretty good for KT.
Well, looks like a Mountain Drake next, which would be nice to help Rox build up or keep any momentum they might have at the time. KT though, content to just sit back and take it easy for the moment.
Yeah, Fly now in a place too where he actually can wave clear on Vladimir, which is pretty important because they really need to keep the mid turret up. Because if you're ideally for Rox right now, where you want to be at the 20-minute mark is inside the enemy jungle with the Rumble, trying to force them to fight on equalizers in their own jungle if you can manage it.
Yeah.
One thing KT cannot sacrifice is Baron vision. Remember, Malzahar has excellent Baron control. You don't need to have a particularly tanky lineup when you have the Voidlings doing a lot of the tanking work for you around Baron. They have a good Baron timing, Rox Tigers, so that's one thing KT have to be really vigilant at now that we've hit the 20-minute mark. It's about 10 seconds time.
Yep, Baron's coming soon. Meanwhile, Peanut tries to take the blue buff, can't quite steal it away from the Rox Tigers though. The Rox Tigers kind of fishing for advantages here.
They really need to get this mid turret down.
Yeah. Taking the easiest advantages, but for now, the mid lane turret is all that it loses.
Oh, wow. Press on the Fly again. What a pick. He pulls away. GPL drop. They can't quite lock him down.
Oh, they messed up their chain
placed.
CC right there. They couldn't actually chain it together properly before he could use his summoners and his pool. That should have been executed better by Rox, but they couldn't get it together.
And they aren't able to claim the turret right after that either, so things not going too great right there for the Rox Tigers, but they're still around.
Fly didn't have to use his ultimate, so he does have the ability to get some healing in a fight.
Yeah, that's right. Two-shot barrage comes through. Engage for Gorilla. On to Someday. Fly coming back in with the pool yet again, just to zone away the Rox Tigers. And they have to back off.
Yeah, there's no follow-up. They have to deal with the wave in the top side. That was a really good opportunity, but because Fly was able to stick around and heal up, they couldn't push into the mid-turret, and that's another couple of minutes that KT have to work with now as they continue to scale up and get their items.
Tia continues to scale. Everything starts to come together for KT Rolster. 3 items is when they really get there. I mean, we still don't have 2 items from Arrow, but of course, it's pretty much inevitable that he'll have the Muramana complete on his next back. And the moment that's there, it seems like KT are happy to park the Vladimir in a side lane. They feel like the Ezreal is strong enough now to hold the fort in mid lane.
True enough.
We're going to see another grouping in mid on this wave for the Rox Tigers. As they make another attempt to take down the mid-tier 1 turret.
Not as much wave clear here now.
Got a big wave. Try to do it with. Doing as much damage as they can.
Gorilla.
Yeah, Gorilla threatening to come in from the side, and that may just do it. He's going to come in anyway. Great equalizer, great engage from KT. They're going to get the turret. Can they get more? They did get the kill on Chani. They're going to get one on score, too. Arrow force out of the fight. They're going to turn on to Someday, who backs off to the turret. He'll be okay with the GPL drop, though.
And that's...
Fly still in there on the Vladimir, still mixing it up. 1v5. He'll go down.
And that's the first mistake KT makes. They needed to let that go.
Yeah.
They didn't have the wave clear there.
That's a
and
Baron.
Gorilla was sitting in a pink ward on the flank. They needed just to back off that turret, let it go, and continue to scale, because now this is where the Rox Tigers get that big advantage.
All right, Baron getting low. Arrow gonna try to steal this one. He can't do it. All 5 members of Rox Tigers have that Baron buff, and it looks like they're gonna get away with it.
And they played so intelligently for 20 minutes, and then I don't know what they saw that thought they could actually fight this. It was only at the time Ezreal and Tariq in the mid lane, but Gorilla, so smart, he realized he can't get Arrow, but the equalizer stops off the cutoff, and Sumday's not contributing anything here.
Papa, it was really about what they couldn't see. They couldn't see Gorilla because he was on a flank, but they were playing too far forward in a dark jungle.
And Fly was way down by the Dragon Pit during that too. He wasn't even part of that fight.
He was coming in for a fight that he thought was going to be even numbers, then he just ends up suiciding at the end.
Yeah.
He should have just pulled out, and in many ways there, KT kind of had a couple of options to pull out, but they lose the maximum when Fly kind of over pursues at the end as well.
Yeah, he was pretty late to the party.
Yeah, there was a possible Baron defense there if Fly had stayed alive, I think.
I think so too.
I mean, Someday was there, so Someday plus the Vlad ultimate is at least threat around Baron, but now the Baron's there, and this is for Rox to blow open the game. This Baron buff, they can make it work. They might be able to actually just take a big enough lead that KT can't come back.
Maybe KT needs to pull some damage control big time here. That mid lane turret has taken so much damage, and it looks like it's gonna eventually go down here. Smeb pushing that top lane. Mountain Drake coming up in just 15 seconds too, something also for Rox to consider. Turret lives for the moment.
Really trying to take as much as they can in this push.
They should. They need to.
That's a good rotation by Peanut into the top side when the mid turret's already so low. They get two turrets.
Wow. And I mean, the Rox Tigers know. They know that this is their big opportunity this game. They need to make the most out of this right here, right now, or they have a chance to lose.
So look at this minion wave they have prepped for bot lane. So it's going to be all three outer turrets. Baron buff power play here is pretty intense from the Rox Tigers.
Absolutely massive. And they're just going to keep going. I was wondering if they might turn around to the Mountain Drake sometime, but no, they're going to keep pushing while they can.
Somebody needs to ult this if they want to keep the turret up, but now it's too late.
Yeah, they're going to lose it, and Fly gets suppressed again. The ultimate, though, from Terra comes through to keep alive. Big Hemo Plague, actually. Rox Tiger's not ending up taking a whole lot of damage from it, though.
Vladimir's so ridiculous. He just healed up the full.
He did, but he didn't do a whole lot to the Rox Tigers either. GPL drop now. Uh-oh! Oh, Prey! Caught! He's in big trouble. Goes down. Gorilla as well. Nearly taken out. There's the equalizer. Oh, it traps a lot of members of KT, but it's still 2 kills for KT. Rolster Smeb coming back in. Oh, 3 kills for Kuro. How did he do that? Man.
They were caught in a pocket against the equalizer. They had to decide whether they were going to walk on that and die or whether Smeb and Kuro flashing in were going to finish off that kill. And the Rox Tigers turned that one around based on a great equalizer from Smeb.
I mean, you always think of the zones from the equalizer, but the Flame Spitter and then just the Malefic Visions jumped at 3 people to last hit all of them. It would have been one or the other. The triple kill's kind of comical that it went all to Malzahar. But credit to Smeb, he made that work.
Yeah, that was a great equalizer, and KT, it looked like for a moment they were going to be able to turn it around, and you know, like we talked about earlier, you said, you know, what does it take for Rox Tigers to win this game? And you said, oh, maybe like a 15,000 gold leader on 30 minutes or so. Well, look at this, 26 minutes, and they're about, 10,000 gold ahead, so we're on track.
I asked for them to break the base too, and they did that as well. But
they did.
You're going to see the Reaper, you're right, it started pretty well for KT. They didn't use the ult to defend the turret, so you're like, okay, this is all too late, it's not going to be anything. But when Prey dies, there is hope for the Rox Tigers, but watch the equalizer. The fact that it forces both Score and Fly, one of them's taking damage, they can't both sidestep it, and then the Flame Spitter here does unbelievable damage.
Wow.
Malefic Vision's got the kill credit, but that was all Smeb.
It really was all Smeb. Credit to KT, splitting off that equalizer so quickly was also very impressive play in the team fight, but unfortunately, they have no Taric ult in that choke point. If they had the Taric ult when they went in, that would have been a very different team fight. And KT, okay, they're 10K behind. We've seen the power of Gangplank even in this kind of deficit. So it's definitely not over yet from KT. We'll see how well they can defend.
Yeah, Rox Tigers, though, they've found their opportunities and they've capitalized on them. Taking everything they can possibly get from that Baron buff. It's over now. Still a lot of pressure on the map, and with that Mountain Drake, they can push through those turrets easy.
Right, he takes a lot of damage trying to go for any sort of harass, so that will force Rox to back away. KT have kind of given away the maximum at this point. They can't afford to lose any more inhibitor turrets and any more inhibitors, so this is where, even though you haven't hit 3 items, it's fight time now for KT, or you'll just get bled out by the Rocks Tigers.
Rocks Tigers, for now, just keeping those waves pushed. Probably trying to stop Peanut, but he's starting to struggle a little bit with that Vladimir. Minute 30 until the next Baron. Oh, they catch Achani though. Nice headbutt from Gorilla. Can Achani live? Pops a Cosmic Radiance. Lives right at the end of the Ultimate from Elder. Oh, that's a lot of damage coming in from Someday. The barrels doing work, and KT trying to turn this one around. Fly getting in there. Peanut with the knockup though, gonna turn on to Score. Score flashes, survives. No, he doesn't. Kuro gets him with the Malefic Visions. It's on to Arrow now. Arcane shifts away, he'll live for the moment. Rocks Tigers, though, again, looking like they're in a little bit of trouble, but turning it around.
But these fights are kind of competitive with a 10,000 gold disadvantage. Still early in the game, we're still pre-30 minutes. So you see what can happen from KT, but if they're going to lose another inhibitor turret here, not much Fly can do.
Yep, stick around for the moment. Here comes Someday though. Oh man, Rocks Tigers need to be so careful. The barrel barely misses Peanut and Gorilla. If that had hit, that would have been 2 dead Rocks Tigers members.
They keep the turret up, so important like we said. So they go back, they have a bit more gold to spend, they get closer to 3 items, and even though they're going to be a half to a full item behind their opponents, KT lives to fight again.
Yeah.
And they, you know, because the Baron is about to come up, and it's going to be pretty soon thereafter that the inhibitor is also will be back online. And at the moment, KT, if Rocks goes into this Baron pit without a lot of vision advantage, there is a possibility that the combination of Hemoplate, Cannon Barrage, and Barrels can really bottle them in there.
I mean, just consider where this game was played for the last 10 minutes. It's impressive KT got enough reprieve to actually ward this Baron. They've been in their own base for a good 5 to 10 minutes. They will get some of their vision cleared, but at least KT are giving themselves a chance to get that fight around Baron.
KT has to back away for the moment though, and that's going to be the cue for Rocks Tigers to go in on this Baron. Peanut, Gorilla coming in, Choo Shot Frost
down fast.
Here comes KT, Gorilla trying to zone in the back lines, giving his life. Baron goes over the Rocks Tigers, Gorilla lives though. Peanut coming over the wall, getting aggressive now. Rocks Tigers though, I think they're content just to back away and regroup. They got the Baron, that's what they came for.
Yeah, Prey using his spell shield to really deal with the barrels right there. One thing Someday's been doing is reliably killing Prey in these team fights.
Yeah.
With barrel chains. So that time, not going to get the chunk.
Now moving into the mid lane. Rocks Tigers with the Baron buff, not having any trouble pushing through that inhibitor turret. And they are starting to look a bit unstoppable here in game number 3. The damage though from that GP, still something that demands respect, but there goes another inhibitor in favor of the Rocks Tigers. I'm sorry, the first inhibitor. They never did get the one in bot lane. Arrow very low, limps his way back to the base, but that's 2 inhibitors down. Can the Rocks Tigers end it right here? We will see. First Nexus turret getting low. But yeah, maybe a little bit too dangerous to push this, and they will back off for the moment.
The combination of Malefic Visions and the Liandry's Torment from Smeb is causing so many problems for KT Rolster, because if they get hit even just a little bit, they find themselves at 50% HP, having to go back to the safety of the fountain to heal up.
Yep.
You know, you come back to the draft, the risk that KT took with all this scaling was that if they didn't play disciplined until the 30-minute mark, a snowball could happen, and they did so well for the first 20 minutes. But the moment that they lost 2 turrets and then the Baron buff power play, they took all 3 inner turrets, and that's been the straw that broke the camel's back for KT.
I mean, for me, Rocks, on the team of Rocks, it's really Gorilla who made that play of the game, because, yeah, we see a lot of Alistar flanks like that, but the key was the vision set up first that baited KT into defending that turret. They didn't even know he was there.
Right.
He kept himself hidden until his combo was up, and that was really the play of the game.
I mean, lots of Alistars try to wrap around gank, but the fact that he prepared it earlier, that pink ward had been there since the previous time he tried to wrap around. He waited for the appropriate time, and it really did a number on KT.
Now Rocks Tigers now going for that top lane inhibitor. One thing to keep in mind here too is that KT have not even taken a single turret this game. They wanted to play it slow, but that's also kind of resulted in them getting no objectives.
I mean, that's the risk you take with this draft, right?
Suppose it is.
You're not going to take early game objectives. They just had to wait.
All right. A lot of damage done to that turret. Still got the Baron buff for a moment anyway. They're gonna go in. Gank onto Hachani rather. Fly gonna try to turn this one around. They take the turret. A kill already for Prey after the turret goes down. Kuro on the run. Gorilla comes in onto Fly. Score in trouble in the 1v3. He's gonna get taken out. Meanwhile, Prey gets another one onto Fly. Peanut back in with the ultimate again. Arrow, the last man standing, along with Someday. Last men standing, I guess, or man and ghost, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. There goes the last inhibitor, and it looks like Rock's Tigers will take game number 3, unless a miracle comes through, and it does not look like that's going to be the case for Arrow and Someday. Smeb comes back in, gets the kill. What great play on this Rumble. There's the ace, there's the game, and Rock's Tigers are one away from taking the tournament.
Yeah, great play from the Rocks Tigers. Was a bit shaky in the early stages, but man, did they deliver. They turned the crucial battle into multiple objectives and snowballed beautifully. KT with a mistake on the defense, but if you are going to be playing these scaling comps against a comp like the Rocks Tigers engineered, you have to be willing to give up those objectives, and it's a tightrope. You have to walk a fine line. We saw in bottom, they knew when to give up that turret. In mid, they weren't playing with enough vision, and they got punished.
I mean, Vladimir Gangplank is the ultimate late game fantasy. You think about those 35-minute team fights, that's what you take away, but you forget that you give away 3 losing lanes. There's 3 winning lanes on the side of Rocks Tigers. This is the team that has always been fantastic in the mid game, and they did so well. They reined it in for 20 minutes. We saw their calm and collected play in game 2. They tried to replicate that until they didn't, and from there, Rocks ran away with the game.
Well, Drake's out for Karambe. He did a ton of damage on that Malzahar. And now, we will see if they can channel this momentum into a 3-1 victory.
Yeah, looks like it's the thing is that KT in their drafts tonight have had to be extraordinarily specific in their timings and in their execution. Rocks have had, I think, a little bit more wiggle room, and we saw that here.
That's right, so do not go anywhere, guys. Rocks Tigers 1 game away from taking. Let's see if they can do that as we come back on LCK Summer on OGN right after this.